Hi guys, just grab some popcorn and drinks because today is a story day. I asked some of my blogger friends to share their story with us. I have done it in another video, you can check it just here. I'm going to share my funny travel story at the end of this video. First, we go to listen to Carl, who makes travel documentaries on YouTube. Let's listen what he has to say.
Okay, so my funny travel story. This one happened quite a few years ago and I've told many times before, but it's a good one, so I may as well tell it again. I was doing a road trip through Italy and we got to Cinque Terre, which is probably not how you pronounce it correctly, but we're at a town called Riomaggiore and we decided to go cliff jumping. We just did some small cliffs one afternoon and in the morning we jumped off this big cliff to sort of start off the day, like let's go for a swim, jump off this cliff.
Now it's Carlos's turn. Yep.
And by doing so, when I hit the water, I dislocated my shoulder. So, doesn't sound very funny so far, but it quickly changes from tragic to funny because, yeah, my shoulder had come out, and then we went to, and it wasn't just going to pop back in by itself. So we went to the tourist information in the town. And they called an ambulance, and then the ambulance came from the nearby town. And when the ambulance showed up, they sort of brought a stretcher into this back room and asked me to go into this back room, and I just assumed they might just pop it back in there. And so I go in there, and my friend Catherine's with me, and my other friend Matt's sorting other stuff out. And then the nurse, she sort of, they lie me down on the stretcher, and the nurse, her English wasn't very good, so I think she's just trying to say something to be encouraging and comforting, but basically she just stroked my face and said, "You're a very beautiful boy." And then she asked my friend Catherine to leave the room.
And then the door gets closed on me, at which point I then turn around to James and go, they're probably just going to take his clothes off.
And then they laid me down on the stretcher, and you know, I'm still just in my swim shorts from jumping in the water. But they start tying me up to the stretcher, and then they take my swim shorts off, wrap me in towels and tin foil, and strap me into this stretcher with a neck brace and everything. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? But my friend Catherine, you know, remember, she's just heard "you're a very beautiful boy," then gets asked to leave, and then the next thing, she just gets past my swim shorts out the room.
And then 3 minutes later, they open the door and hand me his pants.
So they put me in the ambulance, and then we go racing up the cliffs out of the town to the main town, and Matt's following behind in our car, and he's just loving following the ambulance. It's like a dream come true for him.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that. Always wanted to chase an ambulance.
Then I get to the hospital and eventually get seen by some other nurses. They take me into this room and they start, like, you know, taking the neck brace off, and then they start taking the tin foil off, and then they start taking the towels off, and they basically go one layer too far, and I swear to God, the nurse went, "Oh, natural." And I was like, yeah, they took my swim shorts, I don't know why, but my friends are in reception, they got my clothes, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry. And so what they decided to do is they brought me out a giant nappy to wear, like a diaper. And it was just like, oh my God, it was as if they had me somehow attached to like a dignity monitor, and they're like, "Nah, he's still got some dignity left, bring out the nappy." So yeah, I had to wear a giant nappy, something I hadn't worn since I was a baby. Luckily we didn't get that bit on film.
Oh God, seriously? I don't understand why they took off your underwear. But it's funny, seriously. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on and go to Becky. Becky always gives me a lot of positive energy, and she has lots of funny stories, and we can listen to one of them.
Today I'm going to tell you a story from my travels back in 2012 when I visited East Africa, and in particular I went to Uganda to do a gorilla trekking tour. It was the 31st of December, so this was either going to be a New Year's Eve to remember, or it was going to be a huge disappointment. So this wasn't anything like a zoo experience. We were going to be trekking wild in the Ugandan jungle to find gorillas. Now, they do send trackers out and they keep an eye on the gorilla families, so it wasn't a mission impossible, but there was still a chance we might not see them. The most important thing we were told is that we shouldn't go closer than 7 metres to the gorillas. That's totally cool, I was happy with that. So the trek began fairly easily. We followed a sort of path through the jungle, and then it kind of got denser and denser and denser. Then we were told to stop and put our bags down, leave our water, and just take our cameras. So you can imagine how excited I was. This is something I'd wanted to do for absolutely ages. And put everything down, picked up my camera, and literally less than 10 metres around the corner, we saw our first gorillas. And it was absolutely amazing. Words can't describe it. Being that close to gorillas in the wild is one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And you know that they're huge, but you don't realise how big they are until you're right there in the jungle with them. So we spent some time with the first 2 gorillas, and then we started to move on, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go, I want to stay here. But after then, we just kept seeing more and more gorillas, all part of the same family. We even saw 2 little babies climbing trees and rolling around, which was brilliant to see. We saw a silverback. He actually came out of nowhere and gave us a bit of a warning because we were a little bit too close. But that was more because the gorillas were getting close to us rather than us getting close to the gorillas. There was another gorilla that came through. He sort of crossed in front of us, grabbed hold of this branch as if he was like going to do like a swing. And as he swung, the branch just snapped and he just crashed on the floor, and we're all just After an hour of spending time with the gorillas, it was time to move on. So our guides and trackers were in front of us at this stage, and we're making our way out through the jungle, through the path that they've created. I was last in line. I decided to glance behind just to make sure there wasn't anyone else behind, just to make sure we'd not left anyone. And I looked over my shoulder, and there is a gorilla right behind me. And I mean literally right behind me. I was like, okay, fine. So I kept on walking pretty slowly, glanced round over my shoulder again. Okay, he's still there. He's actually following us. We're being followed by a gorilla. And I just kept gradually glancing over my shoulder, and I was like, it's still there, it's still following us. What should we do? So I decided the best thing to do was attract our guide's attention and kind of ask him what we were supposed to do. And he was a little way in front. So I decided to shout to one of our group, a lady called Maria. So Maria was about 10 metres in front. We didn't want to make too much noise, so I was like, Maria, Maria, Maria. We got Maria's attention, thankfully. She turned around and we're like, get the guide, get the guide. And she raised her hand, waved, turned around and kept walking. Now we may have a slight problem. So Maria and the rest of the group and the guides were all up front. And the only thing we can do is stop and let the gorilla overtake us. Seemed like the best thing to do at the time. So we stopped, and then the gorilla stopped, and we're all kind of looking at the ground, because another important thing is you're not supposed to look directly at gorillas. So we're looking at the ground, and then all of a sudden the gorilla just crashes off through the jungle, and we were like, ooh. It was one of the most scariest moments of my life, but also one of the most amazing. And now when I look back, it's definitely one of those top moments that makes me smile and makes that gorilla experience what it was.
I'm a bit jealous. I want to see gorilla too. I think this activity is added to my bucket list. Now, let's go to Karen and Paul, a lovely couple who traveled from London to South Asia without taking a plane.
So Paul and I have spent 18 months traveling overland, so I have many stories to tell.
Many of them very funny.
But one of my favorite ones is when we were in Japan. We got to Tokyo. It was our first night in Tokyo. We're so excited. And we were in Roppongi. And I had read about this really cool club that had themed nights. And we made a beeline for this place. And we got there. And we saw a sign, wedding party. And we're like, oh, how cool. It's going to be a wedding themed party today. Interesting. So we walked in.
Yeah, we walked in, we went to the bar, and there was some stools at the bar, sat down and ordered a beer. And we started looking around, and everyone was dressed up. And the Japanese love to dress up. They really love it. So we looked around, and we saw people in smart clothes as if they was at a wedding, and then we saw a woman in a really nice wedding dress, and was like,
She's made that effort.
wow. I mean, it's Friday night and it's a theme party. Wow, good for her. And then we saw the guy with her, and we was like, even he's really smart. And then they brought a wedding cake out. I mean, like, this a wedding cake? Like, would they go that far for a theme party? So I said, let me check with the barman. I said, excuse me, is this a real wedding? And he was like, yes. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's a real wedding. And then we said, why didn't you tell us it's a real wedding? We thought it was just a theme party. And he was like, don't worry about it. You know, you're not causing any trouble. You're just sitting here quiet. And he goes, in fact, the man who's getting married is a famous Japanese pop star. And he's going to perform with his band, so stay around. I'm like, are you serious?
And remember how good they
They were brilliant. I wish I
my
remember
God.
the name.
They were incredible. The music they were playing was fantastic.
Brilliant. And they then come up to us. They thanked us for coming to their wedding. I think they just thought we were fans or something. We thanked them for letting us gate crash their wedding. So, yeah, we was in Japan with hardly any money because we was backpacking, but we managed to gate crash a Japanese pop star's wedding.
Oh God, that was awesome. You just went to a wedding, not even a normal wedding, a celebrity wedding. Wow, you are so lucky. I think it's our turn to tell our funniest story. I need Bruno in this one. Now I think it's our turn to tell our story. It goes back to some years ago.
Yeah, we were at a party in Bristol. We live in London, but we actually were in Bristol for a party.
And actually the party was summer party in a countryside, not in a city, somewhere middle of nowhere. The party was great. Do you remember we had so much fun?
Yeah, there were a lot of activities and it was late at night and we just decided we wanted to go back. And we called a cab, right?
Yeah, we called a cab. We waited almost 20 minutes. And the cab just...
The cab, yeah, it didn't come at all, or it canceled, I don't remember. I think we called another one. And then this guy on the phone said, yeah, maybe I'm going to be there in like half an hour. But we knew that there was like our last train that we had to catch back to London. So we said, okay, no, half an hour is not going to cut it. So what should we do?
It was like a weird situation because we didn't know what to do. And we saw there were some shuttle bus for the party. They were just transferring people or guests to the town center. They were not going, I think not.
They were not going to the station. We asked them, it was like, are you actually going to the station? They were like, no, we're not going to the station. And we were like, could you actually just bring us to the station?
I
and
think we
like,
begged them more than
yeah,
that.
we were like, please, we have, our train is leaving. We don't want to stay in Bristol tonight. And in the end, what did we do?
I think we bribed the driver. Actually, we paid £20.
Yeah, we
I
gave
said,
him.
please, just leave now. And he was so cool. Like, do you remember? He was just like, it was like he's teasing us. And at the end, then he drove us to the station. And
we managed to pay this £20, and it was like, okay, we're gonna take a detour to the station. We arrived at the station, it was so late, it was like the train was about to go. So we ran like crazy towards the
I think
platform.
Bruno was faster because I had heels on.
Yeah, I was like just shot to the platform and I just saw the train closing the door and leaving in front of me.
It was so
And we were like,
painful.
oh God, and now what? Any other train, any other route we can take? And we asked around and they were like, nope, that was your last chance to go back to London. And we were like, okay, fine. We're just gonna get a hotel. So
Yeah, we went to the closest hotel and we asked if they have any room available for a night, and they said no. Actually, they look at us as like, are you crazy?
why would we have a room? And it's like, okay, you're a hotel. Can you call any other hotel? Do you know any hotels nearby that have space? And they're like, I don't think so.
And they were looking at us like we should know something, and we didn't know. And they were like, are you serious? And I was like, what's going on? Said, there is a festival, annual festival, and all the hotels are booked. And we were like,
okay, that's
makes-
why there's a mess outside with full of people everywhere. We were like, okay, getting drunk and drinking and stuff. And we didn't make a connection at all. And we were like, okay, let's check online if we find a hotel somewhere. But I think the closest one was like 10 miles away, something like that.
Yeah, we kind of gave up on finding a room. Like we knew that we couldn't find anything, and we tried to see how we can get to London. And we found the
First train was too late.
Yeah, it was
Like-
7 a.m. and
yeah.
it was like around 9 p.m. And,
Because it was Saturday night, so on Sunday night there was like first train at 7, 8, I don't remember.
and we checked, I think, the coach, and the coach was leaving at 5 a.m. and we booked a ticket online, and we were like, okay. At least this is the earliest time we can go. But our story just began. Walking around the city full of drunk people and full of mess,
And in the UK, it was pretty cold that night. It was like, I
it
remember
was
we didn't have
really
any jackets because we were like, yeah, we're gonna go with the train back home, that's fine. But staying the night out, we didn't plan for it.
And yeah, I think one of the places that we found was open. It was just one kebab shop, and I was so cold, and I had some really, really light jacket on me, and I was sitting like this and shivering, and I just noticed someone is offering me something, and I look at her. She was homeless, and she was offering me a burger because she thought that I am hungry. I was so shocked. It was so funny at that moment, and I look at her and I thanked her and I said, no, I'm not hungry, thank you. And we walked away.
Yeah, we're like, let's get out of here, this is weird. It's like, you were not dressed in a way that looked like, but it
But it
was a
was
bit
so
weird.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think around 4 a.m. we went to the coach station, and we arrived in London at 7 a.m. It was funny, but at the time it was really stressful.
Let us know if you enjoyed our funny story.
And let us know if you have some funny travel stories in a comment. And same as always, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.